Good evening, Salotina Edlarot. Say hi, say what's up. See the throw it in the comments. Masi cho don't take a yazan or halun tadult the don't think kuders November 19 zinek esalia but zine lela November the 18th 12 begeja 12 years old don't zinek or zinek. Testing. So I got it. There we go. Looks like I don't know why it's in sound yaza, but anyways, yeah, so Zineke is a lian, but Zine in Leo. Yeah, I've been done belagane sail hit azu se ke sail manicure pedicure kate azu the cheat tune. And then balai party ganain de bits in it not cage al dalanelt on this a quit. It's a quasi. Oh man. It's a quasi don't ashadune. You know. New breed of it's a quasi. Ku not cage al dal by yeah John la. By the only tihel torlion siga. Koleba baharel yanle. 2-9 deal. Had a sleepover yanain deal and then ice cream cake they gonna share. So harel so 12 begeja. Next year they 13 a teenager. It's the I don't know das snazzy. Das snazzy the ocean lesson. So you know all this week National Addictions Awareness Week on Tala, right? There I mean every day bagaya only call it mental health. You know, 1 week bound on at udene that's 8 lisi, right? Don't know what then that's 8 lisi the mental health through addictions boss, you know, don't get no hanenezi dene lisi boss, you know, don't get no hanene. Dene but do on the song. I know see sabakont any, you know, one of the things dene huntwe danshu dene sober another is huntwe nat erel in bonto. Llai you can either llai don't leg all yele, right? I know but it's see the all yellow. So you know, all this week dok no hanene sig and as a daisy yes do tide then encourage us you know then kunt addictions ba sebo ha ba doing la. So go check it out. I know Gabi I will be mosquito grizzly bearhead lean man hulya a your naster Gabi a your naster Gabi yes to the afternoon and then but kind Saskatoon Meadow Lake Tribal Council Meadow Lake Tribal Council you see Sakuheliazan Gabi no no hanene 8 bands see Denasushino and now Saskatoon Prairie Land Park your MC the has second dated the breakout session so I'm presenter the has and so your busy week ahead and then schoolwork the has too so but nonetheless you know Pluno hayatidit on the la right don't see an idea hot ano hayatidit are suwa waleo kani Fort Chippewa it's in SJ Tsune Alice Rigney Belhun das about Burbakalt like I've been done sin nemas sinesten hun kill you know Du ho tonen nuts and son lies a yondala. And Ashnet held he dares in Niaza. By Ashnet, you know, I'll get tonen now, Azeda by Dyson. Senior, just look any yasi, you know, sa bahu ade, huntati dala, you know. So senior, sa baburkalt edu, nadari dlo, kuyer, um, duhu nuts or it hadazan, tahuto, der muskox, muskox, your cosi, nil ge ni ya, whatever. Ya tenano, it's not down the la. Ku, bezido diu, and you know altana ay bagana dari tlo, you know, then nahi dema badalt ilu nahi they got fed, right? Then a sheli muskox ku then abe ziholi henini edre yoha heni tonondi because muskox say it's det or edre yanajo buffalo ese but you know yanse tladune. So kol ye henila cook ano tu hate yonala, right? Do tiana kosi. Maybe a thin ends and a denne Harris crescent. I denne sutlin not de thazen not ube zihun linsi kosi benenet and you know. So but pretty cool. Sin near I Taylor Fort Chippewa, Alberta, air Naharish Joe and Techi Liu Rail Tilu drum dance, tea dance, Alan Tasazi, a Dalu Twerzi, then a hell in Chalu, and then Meander River, it's in Tache Dene drummers. So about 4 or 5 songs, you know. So a couple times, Das Tlu, you know, um, mental health to Siganani, the Tel Galu Hondi Sia, Dean Arebering Dion de la, you know. And every time dint are yanse seni leondala, you know, you heal a little bit, right? Bahal hin gali has so hunt isi ho ande no delu darul zau and you know bellight ande no hin neasa sinesten. So yati no host alu dun zinik et anohal yalti hade Melissa Catarat hulie ku so tsala maybe llain nena ta san dung ani thele di honin jaun da san August sak der ya baba be zine be ne kweshu aslani hi azu skane kesa and then du ho shon ala now school na dro e gambal yail tu ku mental healthy base yail tu that was the focus at du ho der sage addictions weak on tala dene bab dalt ila on tala you know bagaya tire because ho en laza sits ein el tilu da due you know ho di see sits a tilin ya so you know and then say as tier sin like I know ani curse then I can't twig and others who drug shoe then a sober a sudden udlinza they have one thing in common kan twig another her in a drug shoe. But one of them is doing the work. Kushade, don't do that's esdia ani then. Always wanna be sober, you know? Holline banani, they're kan twig another drugs to by at last nest, yeah, the don't do his nast, yeah, you know? Bas nilinde, ku balai Bas Nilo Kudras, it's any don't us it's any banar nastra. I don't udre dance nasa. Kujan chichi lire kuder quad ke he dele. Don't ua ha kia sanastra don't ua. You know, then a koni then you and then they remain stuck. Right? So then a hunt you know they want to be sober. Cause hotla honunats there but ahonel yen on the la. But that do depressing condition, right? Kudene the, hon twe hedina kole. Those emotions, the kuna de onda sa, kole boring ni beganats other, right? Sober. Hon twe di, del hanlian el tiu, den hal hun trathing da don't usaba da hu di new den a hell. And then belai nets ed you ku holai sine dadat yondala. Ja, sits in die nie sont ilsa. Sont ille. Sont ille. So with that, duhu edre Melissa Catarat, Melissa Desjolais, that is called Melissa Catarat, Julian de Sandu, a Bahalon Tati die, but hopefully Tata see Duth, but Ruth Alosa, a salute in a Melissa Catarat Desjolais. So,
stay long kunen.
Suwan as si Nezon doing Zenege Salon Tatin Daha.
Likewise.
Yeah, Nezone. Doing Zenege, I guess the other day, Ashna, that's I thought, be a good idea. Mental health boss, yeah, then, then holidays and hadalu and then even daylight savings time, daylight they saw the current one, then but do on the last. So and then I thought, I'd chat with you again. So but we can dive into that.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So school on there's mental health counseling.
Addictions counseling. I'm still in
Okay.
school yet.
Atlanta, ye.
Um, challenging, but so good at the same
Yeah.
time.
Na
Yeah.
ba, do Atlanta sober nine there do.
4 years on the
Mm.
August 8th, 2019 was the last time I drank.
Oh, that's good for you. Na basin neza, slides in doing but do ya thala hun twelve drugs hun is it din do hun da see school na there but na there na ba healing not a through process and in ni na to the stuff that you're learning and you're using that to make sense in your own life and kind of move past it. Na ba kont Ashley?
Yeah, I did a lot of work on myself with school. I guess that's kind of nature of going to counseling. Um, I had to really do a lot of shadow work. Even the assignments that we get, a lot of times they're reflections of our own lives.
Mm,
So I did a lot of healing work through school.
yeah, yeah. Na ba na in first assignment konti lant any na ba did it trigger anything in you na tu siga yan today because a lot of times I guess 2 years into sobriety school king yaho maybe new stuff si sa katila hajan na ba.
Already, I was in counseling prior to, but one thing that I did learn was how much trauma that I endured that was so I was so desensitized to it because it was normal,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't think it was not normal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like mind blowing at first. Like I didn't realize like how much of us, like how much um, colonialism impacts our daily lives and how much we go through.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really an eye opener. And there was a lot of times where I was triggered
Yeah.
by certain things, but um, for me, it was so far a good experience, a good learning experience.
Understanding Benarinia.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's kind of cool. Don't see Benarinia jare and anik anikrini like colonial ways I don't think a lot of us realize that the things we do on daily, even though we're Dene Sushine and we have our language and that stuff, but a lot of influence comes from the colonial ways or Totina ways, right? Um, don't how do you navigate around that, Nishide?
Um, a lot of self care, which is really important. I take care of myself. Um, not when it's hard for me, I just kind of have to take a step back and prioritize what I need for myself at that moment, and then just work little goals at a time to push forward.
Mm-hmm.
Self care is really important, which I never really thought about. And once you go to school, you learn about why it's important because there's things like burnout and all that that you can experience, and you need to have a full cup in order to help others, right? So it's really good to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Na but lahot inli self-care day. I know just because we're sober doesn't mean it's not always rainbows and sunshines. Na but lahot inli na basin dathon desana tu alen na help.
Sometimes it's just, rest. I read books, or I'll just sleep, or I will listen to music or podcasts. Anything that makes me happy. Sometimes I'll go for a drive with a friend, or even just sit in my truck. Like sometimes I just sit in my truck and by myself for a while and just kind of gather my thoughts, or I'll go for a drive. Like um, a lot of a lot of times I notice though I do like to kind of just get lost in TV shows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Or TikTok for me sometimes, it's crazy how we can do that,
yeah.
and we don't even realize it too. It's funny. Sire, one of the things I've been really, really, really pushing lately,
Hmm.
um, Iganesai, waking up early in the morning and going to bed at a decent time.
Yeah. I've been struggling with that too, and this week I really started to kind of try to put myself. I work better on a schedule
Mm-hmm.
rather than just kind of here like anyway. Like I do better on a schedule, so I've been waking up at 6:37 every morning, and it's working better for me than being like tired and freaking trying to rush around last minute before work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially oil sands and align nala, a routine sa do not, right? One
yeah,
week on, 1 week off. So you work 5 days align nare plus school and 2 days off. So
yeah.
asumberin dinant out.
I guess so. I do miss having that extra time to just do nothing, like to do whatever you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of still hard to adjust to just having like a weekend off
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than like a week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's one thing I struggle with sometimes too. It's because being a student, lati said my work consists of doing events, and then sometimes I can get really lazy. See his lunas through, and maybe schoolwork, and just the way I navigate things, I can lose track. So routine important down to the mental health, and you know, duhu ya dinene ase kontwain nilu ont isigan under ya don't ade der tatlia tits and triggers you want to see in a yacht in Lunaba.
Doing it's not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Kula first like year or two, I had to work through a lot of things, not just like Christmas or like it was all holidays, ooh, like Mother's Day, all that kind of stuff. Like I found that it was very like ever since my mom passed away, it was hard for me in holidays because then like they're with their families and here I am like where do I go kind of thing. Like it was like I was really having trouble with that.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of unlearn things, and as I got like more sober, I started to find comfort with my own family, and I'm starting to do all the things that I wanted with my own family, making our own traditions and making it better for my kids.
Hmm.
But at first it was very hard for maybe like the first year, like 2 years, like the holidays were the time of the year where I was triggered and I was really like bitter, kind of, I guess you could say, like,
Yeah.
why me, kind of the way I was feeling like. But now I've unlearned that and I'm making my own traditions and my own things with my own family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it takes a while though, especially when you like look around and you can find every possible reason to be feeling the way you're feeling, and it does suck, but
Yeah.
as you grow and you heal, like you start to learn how to accept too and make things better for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's good point too. It's unlearning sib and do finding a new way and just adjusting to getting over that little hump. Sometimes it's a mountain, right? It's traditions according to what are the things that you have to swap them out for now, Christmas or birthdays and stuff like that.
Well, what I usually do is I'll host a party, but like a sober one, like an ugly Christmas party where like an ugly Christmas sweater party where there's no alcohol. Like just invite people over and like have fun, play games, um, family friendly. There's a lot of laughs and stuff. And like at my bridal shower, like there was people that were having a drink,
Hmm.
but we made like mocktails for the sober ones, and just stuff like that. Like over time, I can handle like if I'm being included by having those sober choices, it's fun, like and then
Oh yeah.
I know when it's my time to go, like like I'm pretty sure you've been there where you're like, okay, it's my time to go now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just do things like that, and a lot of like the friends that I have are very supportive. So like there's always those sober options, or we do a lot of sober things together too. It's not just always like those kinds of outings. And with my family, like during Christmas, we do the traditional meal and the gift opening. And now that I'm home, I like to bake and stuff. So that's just the things that we do to keep like busy. Or I'll go visit my grandparents, my family members, go skidoo riding, stuff. Try to
Hmm.
keep busy and enjoy my holidays.
Yeah, yeah. There's more to life than drinking. You don't have to. I think that's one of the colonial ways in the that we don't realize that. Oh, let's go for a quad ride or a skidoo ride, and then let me grab a six pack. Let's go for a drive over here and camping and all that stuff, right? It, it
Yeah,
it becomes normal, and we think it's okay. And you mentioned that earlier, right?
yeah,
It's one of the things is I don't put myself in situations that often. Sometimes I do go out to like a dance or something, but I
yeah,
go early enough and then I leave. Like, you know, and it's very important to have friends, as you mentioned too, in your life. And it's any that they ever push you or say, have one or do this, or you just like cut them off and that's it with them?
To be honest with you, I've been fortunate enough to have friends that were like, you're on a good path. Um, they've been respectful of my choices, and some of them I don't see much anymore, for their own reasons. And like, I've just been fortunate enough to have those friends that are like supportive in that way and say, like, you're doing a good job. Um, no pressure for me. Like, if I say, like, hey, I can't be here because I'm feeling triggered, they'll just say, like, okay, I understand. It's never like, why, just stay. Like, they understand. And I guess too because I'm vocal about how it is, and so they respect that, and it's really good having those friends. Plus, a lot of the friends that I have are sober.
Mm,
There's just a few that have a social drink here and there. It's never like the the way it used to be when I used to go out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, some people are just they're not born like you and I guess if they have a social drink. We
Yeah.
have one drink, we disappear to the Pelican or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and me in my case it would be like I'll be still going on a Monday morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Been definitely been there. Nabasin DNA kontua nilo. It's not always easy. I don't want to scare anybody about sobriety. It is definitely not easy, but it's something you work for, and the positive, happy moments make it really worth it. But one of the things is when we take out alcohol, and now we got to deal with the emotions, depression. Now, but how do you deal with that?
Well, like I said at first, it was hard. I was battling everything alone. Um, and then I picked up counseling, and that's been help. I do counseling every other week,
Mm,
and sometimes it's every 2 weeks, but the counselor is there ready for me if I need her. I just say, like, hey, I need you, and she'll book me in at her earliest convenience. And other than that, it's just like it's stuff like that, counseling and whatever. At first, wasn't it was just me pushing through life. I guess on survival mode.
oh yeah, yeah.
And it was like the first 6 months of the sobriety part were really hard. I really just had to do everything in my power to just stay away. Like I did everything with the kids, and I just, they were my excuse not to go out.
Hmm.
I unfollowed, unmuted stories. I did what I had to just avoid being triggered. And social media was like bad. It
Yeah.
was tough, especially when I didn't really understand or know what resources were available. So once I got the counseling part, even that was a little bit of a struggle because I was like, what am I doing this for? Like, like, why am I just talking to some person and telling them everything? Like, what is it doing for me? At first,
Hmm.
it took about, I'd say, like 8 months to finally, like, hey, like, this is helping.
Hmm. Hmm.
At first, I kind of felt like strange or like it was a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
But the relationship that I have with my counselor now is just like I just say what I need to say, and sometimes the visits are good, sometimes they're very emotional, sometimes they're angry. Sometimes it's just how I'm feeling at the time,
Hmm. Hmm.
but it does help me.
Yeah. How do you deal with stuff you don't want to hear? The hard stuff, the hard truth. It comes with becoming sober. Like Melissa, maybe you're being a little baby about this or something. Something like that. How did you deal with that?
You know, now before I would be mad,
Hmm.
I would be all up in my head about it. I would have to let it process, and then I would say like, hey, maybe there's a little bit of truth to that. Like, what do I need to do differently? But I would have to feel those feelings first, and a lot of times it was always like anger first, because that's the only way I knew how to communicate. Right? It was you're either really really happy or really really angry. So now that I understand what languages to use. I can say like, hey, I'm not feeling good right now. Like I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling lonely. Like I can describe what I'm feeling. Um, still, I still get those feelings though. Like sometimes, like if somebody comes with me with a truth bomb, I'm like, and then I'm just kind of hurt about it. But once it's processed, um, I think about it. I reflect on it. I sit with it for a while. And there's sometimes where I have to say like, hey, like my feelings are valid too, and this is my experience with it. Like
Hmm.
so. I always have to kind of, depending on what the situation is, really look at it. But one thing that I know is that if like I come up with that and I'm hurt about it or whatever, I can talk about it now. I don't. I'm not angry about things anymore. Like I can openly sit there and talk with you and say, okay, here's the problem, right? Whereas before I couldn't communicate. It was just like, I'm angry, I shut down, you're out of here, I don't want to talk to you at all.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there's always each year there's learning. It's as you mentioned too, Borin Nila Dinila, the first few years, and you said some of the feelings were strange. You know, when something felt so good, were you scared of there being a crash or something after?
To be honest with you, I
Still
still
do?
have that mentality. Like I always think like, when is it, going to be, I'm just waiting for something, and I have to really unlearn that, but that's something that I struggle with.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it was too. I remember my first year; it was like every month because I got sober on the 5th. I was always having bad dreams or something, and now it's been so long, but I still um, I can feel it when something is coming on. Like, are you like that now? You recognize the depression. Depression doesn't always last long, but it looks different for everybody. And you feel that stuff coming on now.
Yeah, like I'm really in tune with me and
Mm,
my feelings, even energies from like being around certain people or certain things. I can feel all of that now. It's sometimes not always pleasant, but it's something that I just have to accept.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, Borin Nile, Dennis. It's not judging or anything either, but people carry different energy for sure. It's
Mhm.
sensitive, and it's sineza on the hopefully then yarit a lot of people struggle with this stuff. So I'm glad you're able to share with me here today. Do alin now, and how do you separate? Because addictions counseling school on there, and you work in mental health, I believe. Said you're
I, I work with the NADAP program, so I work
okay
with people in addiction.
in addiction. How do you separate the two? Someone else's emotions and then yours, and it can go in day to day life too, right? Like it's understanding. You kind of mentioned it before, but
Mhm.
how do you sort through them?
Well, I guess now my way of thinking is that like everyone has a journey of their own, and I have to respect that. you know Everybody has their own journey, and I have to just not take on those feelings.
Hmm.
They're not mine to carry. And what I usually do when things are really heavy in some of the like conversations that I've had, I come back after, I'll ground myself somehow, or like I will smudge, or like just something that makes me feel better. But a lot of times too, me and the client will do the grounding, making sure everybody's coming back down or whatever. But I
Mm.
don't, at first, when I first started, I used to like think that I could fix people. I used to
Oh,
think that I could, I used to take on all that, because our people are struggling, a lot of them. And when you hear the stories, you sympathize with them because, when you're in recovery too,
mhm.
you are very empathetic.
Yeah.
And so I through school I was able to separate my feelings from other people's. But
Mhm.
when things get too heavy, that's when I have to ground myself and do a little bit of self-care. Like sometimes it might be like smudging, or a lot of times in the summer I'll just go to the water and stand in the water, like kind of, I'll pray in my own way.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Mother Earth Hulya for a reason. It's important. Gani ceremony kondi sig and octela your duration cheats and kondi see the during on a sweat lodge smudging the dinila kondi see hot during out la hostina ba.
I do when I can.
Yeah.
Just lately with all school and there's a lot of things in the background that have happened in my life. I just really am trying to make time to take care of myself while going to school, and I do have children with disabilities, and so I have to really prioritize my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I pray all the time. I smudge when I need to. I smudge at least like twice or three times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I, go to ceremony when I need to and when I can.
Yeah.
I always say God willing, and I always think like, my schooling is almost done. Once I can free up some time for myself, I'll do more things that I can. But right now, like I just gotta focus on my home, my children, working and schooling, all. It's not
Mm-hmm.
an easy journey, but
Yeah.
yeah.
The end is near, eh? Daha ano was only ni
This recently, yes, it was very, um, I guess, a testing time for the past 2 months. I'm doing my last class next week, and I felt like throwing in the towel a few times. There was times where I'm like done my class and I just break down because I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe I finished that sometimes because I'm just like, so there's like school and then there's like everything else around it. So there was many times where I was just on survival mode.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's it's overwhelming, Then I can't even lie. It's don't do the workload, Allen Helnes can and all that good stuff. It happens, but Nazusig another Nabasinio interviewing as Klein Leila before. And duhut and es uniganes trade I see growth so nabasin neza and just don't doing as you're almost there, don't quit, it's I need to hear that too, and I'm telling you so, right? And it's always important we share each other share each other's experiences and triumphs together, right? Because it's we lift each other up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good. One more thing, Neuros Crow. Dena Hayatini Ade, we always got to share. You talk about your experiences and your strengths, what's that little piece of hope that you want to share with people that are going to see this and listen to.
I guess one thing that I could say is just like be easy on yourself. A lot of us, including myself, we grew up always believing that we were responsible for every wrong thing that happened to us. Even just, if you accidentally fell, oh well, you shouldn't have been playing there. Like that's your blame for that.
Yeah.
So I would just say like be easy on yourself and take care of yourself. Like you're important, and that like when you're in recovery, Um, there's going to be a like bumpy roads, and it starts off slowly, but the more you work at it, the more things will start working out in your favor. But it takes time. Like it doesn't happen overnight. Like you need to be patient and just trust that there is something better coming. And sometimes it's really hard to see that, especially with the circumstances that you're given sometimes, especially when you're being sober and it's all new to you. Like you have to learn who you are without it, and
Mhm.
that takes a while. There's a lot of unlearning to do, and it takes a long time. So just be gentle with yourself, and not everything that happened to you is your fault, and there is hope. There is there's a way. If you do the work, there's a way. Like, don't give up.
Yeah, yeah, it's always good to share a message of hope anytime that we can help one another. It's sometimes like you said, survival mode a lot of times. And I heard something when I was early in recovery too. I heard this. I would find speakers on YouTube and listen to, and when I was on the highway. And I always remember this native elder that was speaking at a roundup or something that way. But you know he explained recovery in the four directions or the four seasons. The first year is spring. Everything feels good. Sometimes it's muddy and sometimes it's beautiful out, but it has its challenges. And the second year would be summer, where it's nice and beautiful. You have the rainy days, but they pass, right? The thunder and the lightning, all that good stuff. Fall, it gets cold again. So recovery, um, everything kind of gets cold and slows down. The mood changes, right? Third year. Fourth year is, it can be tough because it's winter now. Fourth year, winter time, everything's frozen. That's when you got to work even harder, right? And then you go through that cycle each time. And I always remember that. And I've been on I think I'm into spring now once again. So it's you give it that indigenous perspective to help one another.
Yeah, that's nice. I never looked at it that way. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Masi Narusian Dunzinige Salhuntain Dao, and share your strength and hope with everybody. Sineza another day, Huntai Ke Nadklinosa. Masi.
Thank you.
Masi. Alrighty, salot in a kuyi Melissa Catarat Adila. Llwtsel yn ohol iaith tiw addictions ha ala nawr yn dw sia. Dine, recovery huntwa nilo la dienene. So, tlata si hul chulo sa Melissa, but be gentle on yourself and that's a good one. Hutla nenaril yondala siena dathan at liana denail ilo nen he, right? So it's ethioza. Don't take yourself too seriously all the time. Do nine glow on hunt ilsa, you know. Banani there, eh? Be gentle. Don't always take it seriously. Ne dathan nia sa hunt are. Or it's in the azan. But the only holiday knew, and then you know. So the whole twy nilde nebasinio te kenint isa. You know, then kedenet la hun twedi, right? And no barrel yamaleo. I know all this week addictions awareness week on the la sik, and that's a day yes I think that and hell. It's doge communities in nas sazi. Hunt at den has in la liaison. You know? Yeah, ze baba saduetli, but last slowly nestan, So not deal, yeah, za hun tadult ire maybe see the kama zeda hun linda tlat litiu to curfew to hun liuto, but then halon tadult ire sirilt ane, then I ya tia ho dilu. Dredo Disney Lu, right? Just Huntratin Dao Dana Hell. Dana Slan sober not down the la Dana Suslin and Nanaton. Dana Slan, right? Said I did it another day, one day it's like Zinaha. Then I go there, Koni seek and know what day la one day. Cool. Then I go there, Koni seek in dele, Bella the suicide. Bella the Kanats a day, then a Latin deo, Tornius see ko on the Contwe base drugs deal, could then the overdose that you, right? Danu duhund arbets enlisi the go geno de la. Duhu eschene lotan nene kole. Nak es about do, nak es about horel yao, and but hes nagabin danas en either le con twedi. Tsenestio hes nas abasinela. Nandina bakont awaleo, nabasineo, and duhu next week there is a zinc ede huntadilt in atlinosa. Masicho ho atlit in atlinosa. Have a good night.